Facing Mirabelle's parents who suddenly came in, Mirabelle gave me a malicious look. While I was drying the dishes, I couldn't wait to hear what Mirabelle was going to say.
This high-rise condo is going to be for my parents. Everyone else needs to leave.
Sure, I'm happy to leave. Perhaps because I agreed so readily, Mirabelle and her family seemed taken aback. Ignoring Mirabelle, Ken and I, with our bags already packed, left the house. I'm gonna go with them too.
Wait, what? Why?
Mirabelle, in confusion, tried to stop us, including John from leaving. However, John shrugged off Mirabelle and followed us. Seeing Mirabelle stunned, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But the revenge isn't over yet. In fact, this is just the beginning.
I'm looking forward to what's coming next,
I said with a smile at the corner of my mouth while loading the luggage into the car. My name is Anna Kirk. A 50-year-old. Most of the housework is actually done by my husband, Ken. Thanks to him, I've been able to focus on running my own business. Ken and I met through a friend's introduction when I was still a career woman. Opposite to me, who is not good at housework, Ken loves it. We were complete opposites in our hobbies and skills. But it worked out perfectly, like pieces of a puzzle fitting together. We started dating soon after and got married within 6 months of dating. Ken, being the youngest, easily took my last name when we married. A year into our marriage, I got pregnant and gave birth to our son, John. Since Ken took on most of the child rearing, I was able to return to work 2 months after giving birth. Some of our family was worried about that. But I didn't care, and Ken told me not to worry about it.
I take care of our home, and you take care of your work. It's the right person for the right job. I'm satisfied with our life as it is.
I really respect Ken for that. And at the same time, I start to feel guilty. I do care about my family, too. But with my current job, there's just no time for family gatherings. Ken didn't seem to mind, but he had started to feel sad about not being able to see John grow up.
Hey, is it okay if I quit my job?
Sure, Anna. You'll do great. When I talked about starting my own business, that's how Ken responded. His encouraging words made me want to spend my life with him. That's what I thought. And at the same time, I decided to protect him and John for the rest of my life. Quitting my job to start a business was hard, but I worked desperately. I might have made John feel lonely at times because of that. But in return, I never wanted to let him experience hardship. John grew up to be an honest and kind young man. Good-natured and a bit indecisive, but very family-oriented. After getting a job, he would invite us out to dinner or give us small gifts. Then, one day, John brought home a woman unexpectedly. Ken and I were both very surprised. Ken introduced her to us with a shy smile. This is Mirabelle. We're planning to get married. Nice to meet you. I'm Mirabelle. Mirabelle was a beautiful woman wearing expensive-looking jewelry. I prefer simpler things, so honestly, we didn't click. But it seemed the feeling was mutual.
Anna is kind of plain, isn't she?
Mirabelle said that with a sneer. It made me wish John had brought home a different woman. She was so different from the type I thought John liked. Soon after, John and Mirabelle got married. We didn't really approve, but since John chose her, we didn't openly object. However, taking our silence for approval, Mirabelle's behavior gradually became more presumptuous.
Anna, can you buy me a gift?
A gift? Yeah. I was puzzled. After all, we had already given her a wedding gift. What more could she possibly want?
I really want a new pot. You know, so I can make delicious meals for you guys.
So please, can you buy it? That's how Mirabelle, with her flashy nails, was asking. Honestly, before getting a pot, I wished she'd do something about those flashy nails. When I didn't respond, Mirabelle suddenly started to fake cry.
So, you really do hate me? You think John and I should get divorced?
That's not what I think at all. I blurted out in response, but Mirabelle burst into tears and started yelling.
You definitely do hate me. I'm gonna tell John you're mistreating me. Mistreating.
Caught off guard by this unexpected accusation, I raised my voice in astonishment. Seemingly satisfied with my reaction, Mirabelle suddenly laughed and threatened me. Yes, mistreating. John would be so sad to hear his mom is acting like this. Fine. I'll buy it. Yay! You're so kind. Relieved by Mirabelle's response, I let out a sigh. Honestly, I wasn't convinced, but it seemed better to buy the pot than to let Mirabelle feed lies to John. Maybe she is somewhat domestic, even with those nails. So, I went ahead and bought her a high-end brand pot.
Wow! Thank you so much, Anna.
You're welcome. Seeing Mirabelle genuinely happy made me think she might not be such a bad kid after all. I began to think so. But I was about to learn that was a mistake.
Mom, what do you think about us living together? Wait, moving together?
Yeah, Mirabelle started saying it'd be better for us to live with you guys in the long run. Just hearing those words, she sounds like such a thoughtful daughter-in-law. But I had a feeling there was a catch. Our home is on the upper floors of a well-known high-rise in the neighborhood. Apparently, Mirabelle boasted to John that it would be something to brag about. Honestly, hearing that made me somewhat reluctant to live together, but after discussing it with Ken, we decided to go ahead with the cohabitation.
I'm so happy to live in such a beautiful high-rise with you all.
Yeah. Mirabelle, all smiles, started moving her stuff into the 2 rooms we opened up for them, looking every bit the good daughter-in-law, a far cry from the person who bluntly called me plain at our first meeting.
Should we decide on how to split the household chores right away?
Oh, sure. Ken and you can talk about that.
What? You make Ken do the chores?
Mirabelle's eyes widened in shock at that. And then she suddenly hugged Ken, looking back at me with a grimace. Poor Ken.
You are supposed to help with the housework, right?
In our house, Anna loves her job, and I love doing the housework, so it's not a problem. Despite Ken's clear statement, Mirabelle hugged him even tighter, as if to show off to me, not taking him seriously at all. That can't be true. Poor Ken. Both Ken and I were filled with discomfort at Mirabelle's attitude. Ken stood up, as if to escape from Mirabelle. Anyway, I manage the household chores in this house. So, as usual, I'll handle the chores, and you just keep your and John's room clean. Got it. Mirabelle seemed somewhat pleased. But for the time being, it was decided that Ken would continue to do the household chores. Even though she only had to really clean up, one of the 2 rooms we opened up for them had become very dirty a month after we started living together. John and I sleep in separate bedrooms, but Mirabelle is not good at tidying up. What did you do before? At my question, John sighed. Before, I tidied up when I could, but since we moved here, she won't let me in. I see. I wouldn't mind if it was just a bit messy, but there's a clear smell of garbage, along with perfume, coming from Mirabelle's room. I guess I'll have to talk to Mirabelle when she gets back. Sorry, Mom. Well, it can't be helped. I said that and waited for Mirabelle to return. Mirabelle doesn't work, yet she goes out every day. Where to, I have no idea. I asked once, but she got angry, accusing me of trying to control her, so I stopped asking. I'm home. Welcome back, Mirabelle. Can I talk to you for a sec? Sure, but make it quick, I'm tired. Playing with her long hair, Mirabelle answered as if it was a hassle. I told her straight. I think your room is too dirty. Would you mind cleaning it up properly?
That's so mean.
Excuse me. Mirabelle started to cry right then and there. And then, she began to yell again.
Unlike you, I want to stay pretty. Why are you being so mean to me?
Mean? What are we, children? I had to resist the urge to just give up. Does she not realize how rude she's being? But Mirabelle's tirade didn't stop.
You might not understand because you're plain, but staying beautiful requires a lot of stuff. Not like you.
While repeatedly saying not like you, Mirabelle desperately began making excuses for her messy room. Irritated by her attitude, I ended up saying something harsh.
If it gets any messier, maybe we should end this living arrangement. How could you say something like that?
Mirabelle cried out loudly. I've lost it. It was too late when I realized my mistake.
What's going on, Mirabelle?
Mom said I have to leave.
Mom!
I tried to explain to John, but with Mirabelle crying so loudly, it was impossible to have a conversation.
Mom, that was too harsh.
Even John thinks so. I decided to give up and apologized to Mirabelle before returning to my room. Before I closed the door, I saw Mirabelle's smirk, her lips curling up in a nasty grin. Since then, Mirabelle stopped pretending to be nice altogether. Hey, Anna, give me some money. I reluctantly handed over money to Mirabelle, who walked in asking for it like that. If I didn't, she would just lie to John again. But today was different from usual.
By the way, we have a guest today. A guest?
I was puzzled. I hadn't heard anything about guests coming today. Even if she had to make arrangements, I wish she had told me at least the day before. Suddenly, I remembered the conversation Mirabelle was having on the phone the other day. And I had to suppress a laugh. Oblivious to my thoughts, Mirabelle let the guests into the room.
These are my parents.
Hello, Anna. Faced with Mirabelle's parents who suddenly entered, Mirabelle gave me a malicious look. While I was drying the dishes, I couldn't wait to hear what Mirabelle would say next.
This high-rise is going to be for my parents. Everyone else needs to leave.
Sure, I'm happy to leave. Perhaps because I agreed so readily, Mirabelle and her family seemed taken aback. Ignoring Mirabelle, Ken and I, with our bags already packed, left the house.
I'm gonna go with them. John, what? Why?
Mirabelle, in confusion, tried to stop us, including John, from leaving. However, John shrugged off Mirabelle and followed us. Seeing Mirabelle stunned, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But the revenge isn't over yet. In fact, this is just the beginning.
I'm looking forward to what comes next,
I said with a smile at the corner of my mouth while loading the luggage into the car. After everything was loaded, we headed to our new home. John didn't know, but we had already purchased a new home.
This is our new home.
John was surprised to see the new home. No wonder, the new house is a big house worth millions of dollars. I had overheard Mirabelle and her mother's phone conversation. So, I knew all about their plans to take over our house and get rid of me. That's why I had already consulted with Ken and purchased a new house. We splurged a bit. It was more than just a bit, but let's say it was for parental pride. In reality, Ken and I used the inheritance we received from our respective parents to buy it. We're particularly attached to it, paying close attention to its appearance and interior. Not to mention, the security is top-notch. The gate and front door, which open with fingerprint recognition, can't be opened without our permission.
That other house has already been sold, so I guess the realtor will be heading over there soon.
Right after I said that, John's phone rang. I knew who it was without even looking. John sighed before answering the call.
What?
Mirabelle's shrill voice could be heard from the other end in response to John's curt manner.
What do you mean?
What do you mean what?
We were told to leave this house.
Mirabelle, selfishly angry without understanding the situation. John calmly responded to Mirabelle's words.
Oh, Mom said that house has already been sold. Huh?
Mirabelle's voice echoed from the phone, and I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Hearing my laughter, Mirabelle got even more heated.
I'll have nowhere to live. Come back here right now. I've tried to listen to you as much as possible up to now, but I've had enough. I want a divorce. Divorce. Are you serious?
Not only Mirabelle was surprised by John's words, but I was too. John, having made up his mind, reiterated with a firm attitude.
I don't want a divorce.
It's too much for me.
Why?
Mirabelle bit back desperately over the phone. However, John coldly stated,
"We'll discuss this later. For now, the divorce is a done deal." "Just wait a minute."
John ignored Mirabelle's plea and hung up the phone. After that, Mirabelle called several times, but John ignored all of them. Eventually, Mirabelle's calls ceased. Just as I was feeling a bit relieved, the phone rang for me.
"Hello, can you listen to me for a sec?"
Mirabelle raised her voice as if nothing had happened, but I responded dispassionately.
"Divorce is a matter between the two of you. It's not my place to say anything." "But still."
"Well, I'm on John's side." When I said that, Mirabelle screamed in frustration on the other end. Her voice sounded almost like a screeching monkey, making me want to laugh again.
"We're going to have dinner now."
I said that and hung up the phone. Mirabelle called several times after that, but like John, I ignored them. Eventually, the calls stopped. However, she started calling my workplace instead. Moreover, every time she would freely talk about me over the phone, spouting nonsense before hanging up. It was nothing but a nuisance. I decided to hire a lawyer after discussing it with Ken and John. When we told Mirabelle through the lawyer to stop contacting the company, she quickly complied. Apparently, the lawyer's words about reporting harassment to the police had an effect. But there was still a problem.
"She won't sign the divorce papers. It looks like we have no choice but to meet her directly."
After the first phone call, John had sent the divorce papers. However, Mirabelle refused them. Not only that, but she was still squatting in that condo. Since we had also received communication from the real estate agent, we decided to meet with Mirabelle and settle things once and for all. When I contacted Mirabelle, the date was quickly set. Her voice sounded chipper, probably thinking we had backed down.
"I'm looking forward to that day."
I smirked, holding the documents I had a detective gather over the past few days. And on the day, Mirabelle and her mother showed up in the private room of the restaurant we had prepared. Mirabelle glared at me resentfully upon seeing me.
"Have you found a new home yet?" "Our home is there." "Mom, give John back to me."
"Give back?"
John made his decision himself.
My words made Mirabelle's face turn red. She seemed quite angry. But that didn't matter.
"Today we're here to discuss your divorce and request that you vacate the house." "I won't divorce. And I won't leave the house." "Even if you say that, the divorce is up to John to discuss, and if you decide not to, that's fine. But the house, well,"
I said, looking over at John. Then John frowned while looking at Mirabelle.
"What do you mean?" "Mirabelle, I want a divorce." "I told you I'm not getting a divorce."
Mirabelle yelled at John. But John was unfazed. In fact, he pulled out a piece of paper.
"To do something like this and still say such things, huh? How do you know about?"
The moment Mirabelle saw the paper, her face turned pale. And she tried to snatch it from John.
"Give it here."
Like I'd do that.
"Why not?"
Her reaching out while yelling somehow reminded me of a witch. While protecting the paper from Mirabelle, John began to explain what was written on it.
"I thought you were going out every day, but I never imagined you were cheating." "It's not what you think. That was just a friend." "A friend you go to a hotel with, just the two of you?" "Well, that's..."
Mirabelle stuttered. In fact, it wasn't just one incident of Mirabelle cheating. John pulled out paper after paper, listing the names written on them.
"Cheating with a total of 7 people, no wonder you were never around." "It's not true. I only love you."
"Easy for you to say," John said dismissively, and Mirabelle started to cry profusely. Then, she began to apologize meekly.
"Really? It's just that I couldn't say no. I love you, I'm sorry." "For someone who claims that, you seem to be having quite a good time." "It's not like that. I wasn't having fun."
John reacted to Mirabelle's words by pulling out another photo. The photo showed a man and a woman kissing unabashedly at a park.
"This is a recent favorite of yours, right?" having a blast with my money. That's not it, really. I'll be taking a substantial amount for alimony, just so you know. No way!
Mirabelle screamed and slumped over the table. John, unfazed, presented the divorce papers to her.
You're free to cry, but could you sign the divorce papers at least?
I felt a bit of sympathy for Mirabelle at those merciless words. Mirabelle signed the divorce papers silently, then slumped over the table again, sobbing. Her mother gently stroked Mirabelle's back and glared at John.
Do you enjoy pushing her to this point? Well, considering the trouble she's caused, this is only fair. What do you mean what she's done?
To think she still doesn't understand after all this. It seemed John, and even Ken, who had been silent beside me, thought the same, both wearing exasperated expressions. But Mirabelle's mother seemed not to grasp the situation at all. Proof of this was how she gently comforted her daughter, who was sobbing over a cheating-induced divorce.
Now that the divorce is settled, shall we move on to the discussion about the living arrangement? Do you intend to take even more from my daughter? Well, originally, it was you who tried to take from us.
My retort made Mirabelle's mother glare at me in frustration. Yet, I didn't flinch. I presented the documents I had gotten from the detective, along with the documents I had prepared, in front of Mirabelle's mother.
Here are the house's title and the proof of sale. The title was in my name. It's already sold, so it's not in my name anymore.
I said that, pointing to the proof of sale in front of us.
So, please leave immediately. If you don't vacate by next week, we'll start the renovation as scheduled. Renovation? Yes, it's time for a major renovation, and we're going to freshen up the interior while we're at it.
Mirabelle's mother let out a surprised gasp. And she looked shocked at my words. I handed her a graph summarizing the figures.
Why do you have this?
I hired a detective, I said, pointing to the documents. And smiling.
It seems you've borrowed quite a lot of money. You were going to make John pay for it, weren't you? We're married, so it's only natural he pays, right?
Mirabelle's defiant attitude only made me sigh. John looked just as exasperated beside me. Then Ken, who had been silent until now, spoke up.
I've never made Anna go through such hardship, and I never will. Marriage is indeed about supporting each other, but it's not about being unilaterally supported like you, Dad.
Ken said slowly but clearly, making Mirabelle hang her head in silence. I thought about the vows made at the wedding. To bring up the words in sickness and in health now would be too insincere for Mirabelle.
If you had truly loved John, maybe things could have been different. No way!
Mirabelle finally slumped in defeat. It seems she finally realized the seriousness of her actions. She was frozen, her face ashen.
So, please leave the house by next week. The new tenant is already decided. 1 week is too short. It's us who are in trouble here.
Despite being around the same age as me, Mirabelle's mother seemed somewhat childish. Her behavior, glaring at me unconvinced, was all the evidence I needed. I thought to myself, like mother, like daughter.
Hey!
Yes?
What if we cancel the sale to that person and we continue living there?
What are you talking about? I responded with astonishment to her proposal, which clearly offered no benefit to us. Mirabelle's mother pressed on.
Being told to leave so suddenly, we'd at least need a month. We've been saying for a while that we wanted you out.
Well, yes, but... Mirabelle's mother faltered, and I continued.
After all, there's no reason to keep a stranger, no longer a wife to my son, in her former home.
That's just... Mirabelle's mother slumped down, drained. Yet, her glare remained unchanged. Then, the door to the private room opened, and Mirabelle's father entered.
Enough is enough.
Mirabelle's father, face flushed with anger, scolded Mirabelle and her mother. Then, he turned to me and said,
I'm sorry for what my wife and daughter have done. I told them several times there's no such thing as a free lunch, but my wife wouldn't listen.
No, it's okay. It feels somewhat uncomfortable." And Mirabelle looked embarrassed by her father's sudden appearance. Her father scolded her sharply.
"I thought you had settled down after getting married, but you were still up to this? Well, this is enough with the excuses,"
Mirabelle's father said, and then he struck Mirabelle firmly. He glared at Mirabelle and her mother.
"We're getting a divorce." "What? Wait a minute, please."
Mirabelle's mother desperately clung to her husband, trying to prevent the divorce.
"Dad, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You're repeating the same mistakes. I won't forgive you this time. No. I don't want this."
Mirabelle was pale at her father's words. Ignoring Mirabelle, her father turned to me again and said, "I truly apologize. We will pay the alimony at any amount you say."
"Thank you, that would be appreciated."
He took Mirabelle and her mother and left. I leaned back in my chair with a sigh of relief.
"How about we have your favorite dinner tonight?" "Oh, let me help you."
"Yeah, thanks." Hearing such family conversations makes me feel happy. "All right, let's head home." With that, we started on our way back. Afterward, John and Mirabelle successfully divorced. Apparently, Mirabelle had been after our inheritance, getting close to John for that very reason, I learned through the grapevine. She had gotten involved in the nightlife after trying to take over our house, and now, burdened with debt, she's ended up working in that very scene. She never intended for things to turn out this way. She often laments to those around her, but it's purely a case of reaping what she sowed, so no one pays her any mind. Mirabelle's parents divorced after that incident, and now Mirabelle and her mother live together. They are constantly fighting and becoming a nuisance to the neighborhood despite their previous closeness. I know this because I heard it directly from Mirabelle's father. We bumped into each other once, where he apologized again and updated me on Mirabelle and her mother's situation. Mirabelle's father, a former executive at a renowned company, regretted spoiling Mirabelle with everything she wanted. From now on, having to buy everything she wants herself, she's bound to lead a dull life. Mirabelle's father said he's felt much lighter since becoming alone, as if a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. It seems the troubles with Mirabelle and her mother were the catalysts for a divorce he'd already considered.
"Thanks to you, I now have more than enough for my retirement."
While it's a bit complex to be thanked for such a reason, Mirabelle's father seemed like a very sensible person, so I guess it's fine. John has been quite down lately, lamenting that even the vows made at their lavish wedding were just part of Mirabelle's plan to marry into wealth. It was all about the money over me. He often sighed. But lately, he hasn't mentioned that, instead talking non-stop about a woman he's interested in, seemingly unaware of his own feelings. Perhaps a new spring is on its way for him, and I can't help but feel excited. Ken has recently gotten into French cuisine, crafting meals fit for a hotel every day. After everything that's happened, he's found his calling in household chores, talking about retiring early to pursue various certifications. Having delicious meals every day and a sparkling clean house is something I'm truly grateful for. And since my income is more than enough for us, having him at home when I'm tired is very much appreciated.
"Leave the house to me, Anna, and you just focus on your work."
Hearing Ken say that fills me with gratitude. I'm truly glad to have married him. Our anniversary is coming up soon, so I'm thinking of buying him a present. That's what's on my mind. I've been dedicating myself even more to my work. Thanks to Ken, I was able to focus and recently sealed a significant deal. That night, Ken celebrated with a full-course dinner, and I was filled with happiness. John, who had been working elsewhere, recently joined my company. His goal is to become a kind and strong CEO like me. No parent would be unhappy to hear such words from their beloved son. I hope to expand the business a bit more before John takes over. The place we're living in now is very comfortable. It was worth the splurge. Though it's a bit too luxurious at times, making it hard to relax. That's why Ken and I have been thinking of buying a villa near the sea to relax in after we retire. The current home is lovely, but we thought of creating a place where we can truly unwind. We've already spotted a piece of land, so we're planning to choose a real estate company to build our custom home with Ken.
What would you like for dinner today?
Pasta sounds good.
Oh, but pizza is hard to pass up. Anna, you're such a foodie.
While having this conversation, I get ready to leave. Today's business meeting is with a very important client for the company. I need to be fully prepared. All right, I'm off.
Take care.
Ken sends me off, and I step outside. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm sure today's meeting will go well too. That's what I think as I take my first step outside.